Although McDonald's closed a lot of franchises in the United States during the COVID pandemic in 2020 and 2021, franchisees that have survived in the McDonald's system average over $3 million in sales. In today's video, we're going to go through the franchise costs, the profit potential for a McDonald's franchisee, how they really fared, and dive into the numbers of how they did during the COVID pandemic, and see if this is an opportunity that you should explore investing in this classic American restaurant concept, McDonald's. So for those that are not up to speed with the history of the chain, as I'm sure you all know, McDonald's, you recognize the symbol. It was founded in 1940 by Richard and Maurice McDonald in San Bernardino, California. The business has grown, especially under Ray Kroc's development, who really instituted the franchising model from that single location operating in San Bernardino, California, where they now have over 36,000 locations over 100 countries. They're a leader in the fast food industry and compete with chains like Burger King, Wendy's, Five Guys in the United States, as well as international concepts abroad. To open up a McDonald's franchise, it's going to set you back $1.3 to $2.4 million, and that does include the franchise fee of $45,000. Sales, as I mentioned, were what I understand a record in the United States for McDonald's at $3.3 million average unit volume. That represents about a $500,000 increase compared to the 2020 numbers. So is owning a McDonald's franchise worth it in 2022 and the coming years? Let's see the midpoint investment at 1.8. Imagine you're doing 15% in terms of profit on that $3.3 million in sales, roughly $450,000, $500,000 in profit. You can expect a franchise payback for McDonald's to take about 6 to 7 years based on those assumptions, based on those financials as recorded in their latest FDD from 2022. So owning one location, though, when you go time to sell, if your son, daughter doesn't want to take over the family business, that family McDonald's from you, you could probably sell for $1 to $1.5 million. So you're not going to recover your investment back, and that's out of the range of 1.3 to 2.4, barely crossing over. So if you sell the McDonald's for 1.5 and you invested 1.8 to open it, you're basically going to have a loss of $300,000 when you go to sell that business. Now, owning several franchises, including for McDonald's, when you have sales over $5 million, or better yet, over $10 million, and EBITDA over $1 million a year, that's when the multiple starts going way up. And that's when it gets very enticing to develop multiple locations and have a mini empire, then sell that to a larger franchisee, back to the franchisor, or more common, a private equity group. So for example, if you owned and operated 10 McDonald's franchises and using a multiple on sales of 0.86, you could potentially sell that business for $25, $30 million. And if it only costs you $18 million, to open up those 10 locations, you could be netting over $7 million when you go to sell your chain of McDonald's restaurants. Therefore, it's worth it to look at McDonald's if you already have a lot of money. So I'm talking liquid cash available to invest over $5 million. And you can use leverage to develop 5, 10 locations from zero, or potentially look to acquire existing McDonald's locations and build upon that existing McDonald's chain. But if you're looking just to invest in one location, it's better to look elsewhere in franchising. And if you don't have even enough money to invest in one food and beverage business, which is going to be at least $300,000, you could consider buying McDonald's stock. So compared to the S&P 500 over the past 5 years, McDonald's has outperformed it. A big part of that has been the success outside the United States. In the United States, getting back to how they performed during COVID, the strong units did well with average unit volume over $3 million. However, they decreased their unit count by 500 locations over the past 3 years. So most of those were franchise locations. But if you want to get in this classic franchise, It's probably worth it if you have millions of dollars to open up multiple locations or acquire an existing portfolio. If not, better to be on the sidelines, explore other food and beverage concepts, or potentially you could buy McDonald's stock. Full disclosure, I do not own any McDonald's stocks. Do your due diligence, but I definitely recommend looking at other franchises in the food and beverage space if you're looking just to open up one franchise, or if you don't have millions of dollars to open up multiple McDonald's locations.